I'd like to call this Fernley City Council meeting to order, February 18th, 2026. Hearing devices are available. If you need some, please come up and see the clerks up here. To avoid meeting disruptions, please place your cell phones in the silent mode or turn them off during the meetings. All meetings are recorded. When addressing the council, please sign in, state your name, and speak clearly into the microphone. Line item 1, introductory. 1.1 is Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked Councilman Hanna to lead us in that. All right, thank you. Line item 1.2, roll call. Ward 1, Councilman Hanna is present. Ward 2, Councilwoman Zaberski is present. Ward 3, Councilman Lau is absent. Ward 4, Councilman Torres is present. And Ward 5, Councilman Mendoza is present. 1.3, public forum. This portion of the meeting devoted to the public. The public may comment on any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. Items not included on this agenda cannot be acted upon other than to place them on a future agenda. If you wish to comment, you can do so in person at the meeting or raise your hand feature Zoom or *9 participating via phone. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please avoid repetition. The mayor may, at his discretion, hold comments until a second public forum at the end of the meeting. Public comments submitted prior to 4 p.m. the day of the meeting will be provided to City Council and added to the record, but will not be read during a live meeting. Any public input received after 4 p.m. the day of the meeting will be included in the record, but may not reach council members before action is taken. Is there any public input at this time?
Hi, Becky Hallett for the record. I wanted to invite all of you, if you have not bought tickets yet, to come to the spaghetti dinner on Saturday at the Senior Center. Starts at 6 o'clock. Get your tickets and come see us. We're going to have some fun.
Okay, thank you. Any other public input at this time? Anyone on Zoom? No, nobody on the phone? Okay, we'll move on to line item 1.4, looking for approval of the agenda. Councilman Torres.
I make a motion to approve the agenda while removing 7.1.
Councilman Hannan.
I was going to make the motion. Why are we pulling 7.1?
Councilman Torres.
There's been an updated statute that I think is better suited for what we're looking at.
Okay, I second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Torres, seconded by Councilman Hannan. Please vote. Do we need to take a verbal? Ward 1, Councilman Hannan.
Yes.
Ward 2, Councilwoman Zaberski.
Yes.
Ward 4, Councilman Torres.
Yes.
Ward 5, Councilman Mendoza.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as written. Councilman Hannan,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
looking for a second.
I'll second.
Verbal again? Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Hannan, seconded by Councilwoman Zaworski, and we'll take a manual vote. Ward 1, Councilman Hannan.
Yes.
Ward 2, Councilwoman Zaworski.
Yes.
Ward 3, Ward 4, Councilman Torres.
Yes.
Ward 5, Councilman Mendoza.
Yes.
Consent agenda passes 4-0. Sandy, would you please read the approval of the business licenses?
All right, we've got, Priest Company's Toy Tower Reward Program. The Collective Edit is an online resale store. Nason's Scanning Service LLC, concrete scanning and underground utility locating. Arcadius US Inc., install groundwater monitoring wells in the city right of way. Silver State Patio Covers, aluminum patio covers, awnings, and louvers. Insight Telecom LLC, general contractor for telecom industry. VQZ Electric LLC, electrical contractor. Western Tools LLC, mobile retail tool sales, direct to customers. Tri-State Communications, Inc., telecommunications and construction. Cemex Construction Materials Pacific LLC, delivery service. And Jerome Naimi, online e-commerce store.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to line item 3, reports. This is for various public entity representatives to provide general information to the council and public. No action will be taken. And I see Chief Deputy Branningham is here.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question about one of the consent agenda items. Do you want me to wait until the end? Sorry, sorry I didn't talk
think
fast
we
enough.
can.
Yeah, Morrison City Attorney, you can choose
Yeah.
to take that out of order here if you want, or save it to the end. That's your choice.
Yeah, if you would wait a second. Go ahead, Councilwoman Zaborski.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was trying to get up here before you started walking. On our agenda, the possible action to approve a contract with Wood Rogers for 79,700 lump sum for boundary surveys. I guess I am just looking for clarification, because June 3rd, 2025, we entered it, well, they had sent us what all the scope of the work that they were doing for the conveyance of the land. And I'm not an engineer, so I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this, but the scope of work that was included in that price tag, which was pretty significant, had minerals potential report, biological survey subtotals, habitat assessment, conduct the rare plant survey. I guess I'm lost on how that, where the kind of random 79,000 came from, just because we did approve a pretty large amount. And I thought that was encompassing the scope of work that Wood Rogers was doing for us.
I'll let Acting City Manager Lydia Altek answer that for you.
Yeah, happy to. So that large scope of work with Wood Rogers was mainly for phase 2. So that was the 10 additional parcels that we're doing now. And biggest component of that was the environmental. So that all those studies that were required and the mineral potential reports are part of the reversionary interest process. So a lot of that work's already been done, most all of it. So this survey is for the phase 1 parcels, the 8 that were conveyed by BLM to us. And so that will include monumentation, boundary survey, marking the corners, and a record plat survey of maps, basically, of every parcel. And they are very large parcels. So hence the price tag, and it's an all-inclusive process, survey. But it
So,
is ve- it
so I
is
guess
very
the
separate.
difference would be that they're setting monuments, in the ground that are there stationed. Before, I believe it was just stakes. Did they not stake the boundaries?
They've never staked the boundaries.
Oh,
that-
okay.
No, it's never been
I'm
done.
not sure how they would do all of the like geology or the environmental tests without knowing where the boundary lines were first.
They
So
knew
I-
where they were on a map.
So we're
All
paying
right.
$80,000 for them to put posts in that says this is the boundary line.
Yes, and they're checking the corners and monumenting the ones that have disappeared. So corners don't just mean the corners of the parcel, but they can mean monumentation of section corners that are out there, which are many of these parcels are basically a section of land. So that service is definitely not included in just their regular work of processing the conveyed lands that we had done in phase 1 and phase 2, which include a lot of the environmental studies, as I mentioned. And so, yeah, I mean, they go out there and they have to verify exactly where it is, and it's a large area of land.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so on this letter that we got from Wood Rogers on June 3rd, 2025, revised additional work proposal for phase 2 conveyance. But it also says on here, the exhibit presents the original 10 parcels and the additional 5 parcels to complete the authorized conveyance of federal lands to the city. And so I just want to make sure that we're not paying twice over, because I don't know if I'm reading their letter wrong, but could we maybe at some point get an update as far as like how much money that we've paid to Wood Rogers for the help of the land conveyance and what they've done so far in the scope of their work?
yeah, I can provide that. But this wouldn't be work being done twice.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Sorry. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Yeah.
Good.
Chief Deputy Mitch Branningham with the Lyon County Sheriff's Office. Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor, Deputy City Manager. Thank you for having me. Lots and lots of stuff going on over the last couple of days with the winter weather coming in. We're very fortunate that the state police dealt with most of the issues up on 80, and we didn't have to head out into the madness that was up there. But around the county, we're very fortunate here in Fernley. We didn't see a ton of snow come in here like we saw down in the southern and western parts of the county. But we had a lot of staff out working those things. No major crashes or anything like that to report due to the weather, though. At least on the surface streets that we're dealing with. Like I said before, lots of stuff going on up on 80, and did have some communication with the state police, our partners over there, and some coordination, make sure that we had everything covered that we could here in the city on that end, so they were freed up to go deal with those things. As we kind of closed out January, we had all of our annual training blocks come up, and that's a pretty in-depth training component for all of our sworn staff that they have to go through, make sure that all their certifications and everything stay current with post over at the state. One of the things that we had going on this year specifically is we had implementation of the new TASER devices. The TASER 10 was being implemented. If you're not familiar with that process, all of the TASER stuff goes through a company called Axon. And Axon really has a corner on that market. There's not really another option for us. The unfortunate part about working with Axon is every 5 years, they shut down all of the old devices. They quit supporting them, and we get new technology that we're pretty much forced to have to do implementation of. It's very costly, and it takes up a whole bunch of time and energy doing the implementation of that. So all of those things were done, and we'll see the new TASER 10 devices are already on the street here in Fernley. It is a better system than what we were working with before. You know, it does come with its advantages, but you know, the cost and effort for the gain that we get there is always the question that we're working with. The unfortunate part is we really just don't have an option. We have to go through that process. We have been focusing on our step patrols up here in the city. And I had some data and some stats from those guys that I wanted to share with you. These statistics they sent me cover the first 2 weeks of the month of February. They worked Farm District Corridor over at Cottonwood Elementary, as well as over on Sage and the 95 intersection over at Newlands, as well as over on Hardy. They've been out on Hardy pretty much every day for the last few months. During those operations, they worked a total of 41 and a half hours. They had 67 traffic stops for speed. They had 30 stops for speed with citations issued, 6 citations issued for registration violations, 2 for insurance violations, 2 for driver's license violations, a citation issued for duties upon approach, which is failing to yield to emergency vehicles. Could have been a fire truck or an ambulance or one of the sheriff's office vehicles. And then 1 citation issued for other offenses. Excuse me. We have them track other offenses. A lot of times they're issuing a citation for something obscure or something strange that they come across out in the field that we don't generally deal with, that's not tracked through this metric. In addition to that, they had 30 stops where no citations were issued, or 34 stops where no citations were issued. And most of those were speed related, or things for like equipment violations and stuff like that. Those are ongoing operations, and they're going to continue as the weather warms up here a little bit for us. If people have complaints about traffic, ask them forward over to us. Sergeant Santos, who does work here in Fernley, keeps track of all that stuff and then coordinates response out to those areas. So those areas that they were working on were areas that people had specifically complained about, or when we're reviewing data and looking at the analytics that we have, we determine would be areas that would be worthy of some extra attention and some extra traffic enforcement. Excuse me. The other things that we've had going on, we just sent a bunch of deputies down to a big legal update conference that they had over in Carson City. This was a unique opportunity for us. We deal with different courts all over the country, different levels of courts. We had the opportunity to send these guys to training for legal updates specific to the Ninth Circuit, which governs us here in Nevada. I also govern California and some other areas, but specifically that's who we fall under as far as our circuit courts go. And so they were able to get those specific updates. And a lot of that stuff centered around use of force, and escalation of force, de-escalation tactics, things like that, and kind of some of the national trends we're seeing there. So we try and get all that training and stuff done now in the winter before we get into the warmer weather, and we start seeing the uptick of some more of the community events, and we see a little bit more activity in the community for law enforcement. But in these cooler times, we try and get that training component done. So we have one more block of training coming up in March to kind of round out the year, and then we'll be back off to the races into the enforcement focus side of things. That being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Council, have any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for the report.
Thank you.
I see Battalion Chief Snyder from Northline Fire.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Bill Snyder, Battalion Chief, North Line Fire, for the record. Busy as usual. Around 361 calls for January, which is 11.6 calls a day, with about an average response time of 8 minutes. We did have a few incidents. A lot of incidents that were uncovered, but we had a vehicle fire where we had nobody in the city. The battalion chief had to mitigate that himself. We had the the protests. I think it was a week and a half ago. And we had to move in some outside resources into the city just to ensure that we were able to cover the bases if things got sideways. So that was in cooperation with the emergency manager from Lyon County, City of Reno, Central Lyon, Story County, Banner, and ourselves. We orchestrated a response plan for that, and we moved some resources accordingly. Some of you may have seen some of the social media posts. We've been doing some joint training with Central Lyon and Story County just a couple days ago. Our instructor cadre between the three agencies got together in Silver Springs and ran through a different skill sets that they'll be teaching quarterly to our members of each of our departments. So that'll be mandatory for every battalion on every single department. So we're all operating on the same sheet of music. We're pretty good now, but we can just be better. So lots of training going on. We have our own folks spending their own money and time we just had a gentleman go to Los Angeles down there for some hands-on training. Events, we have Black Bear Diner coming up. I believe it's next month or the following month. That's coming down the pipe. So we should have some dates getting released pretty soon for our fundraiser for Northern Nevada Children's Cancer Foundation. I think that's it that I have. Do you guys have any questions?
I just had something that I had a really good meeting with Chief Bunn this morning, and some exciting things are going to happen with the fire department, which is really good to hear.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any other public entities that? Oh, I see our Commissioner Rob Jacobson is here. Do you have anything to report, Commissioner? Go Vaqueros. Here we go Friday, 3:00. It starts. All right. If we don't have any other, we'll move on to Acting City Manager Lydia Altek for a report.
Good evening, everybody. Just a few announcements. Code enforcement open house. That's exciting. That takes place Friday, March 13th, starting at 6, and Saturday, March 14th, starting at 9 a.m. And so we're tuning up the municipal codes code enforcement section, and we want to hear from the community. So there'll be a Q&A session with code enforcement officers, and it's a great chance to learn what code enforcement is and what it isn't. So we hope to see lots of community out there, so spread the word, please. The Main Street Fernley group is doing a program where they're giving $5,000 through a grant for facade improvements if you have a business on Main Street. So if you want to hear more about that, go to mainstreetfernley.org. You can apply for that or spread the word again. And just another reminder, Saturday, a week from this Saturday on February 28th from 9 to 2 is another low-cost microchip clinic scheduled for 9 to 2, and it's $15, or you can donate a 10-pound bag of pet food. I believe that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Hannan, you want to start a report?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I just want to, I forgot to mention in the last meeting that we had a grand opening ribbon cutting for ROC Reno Orthopedic Center, and super excited that we have another medical facility in Fernley. That's huge for us, and everyone should go check out their website and visit if they have a orthopedic problem. Also want to wish Mrs. Mayor a happy birthday. I believe today is her birthday. I think she's 39 or 40 years old. Looking great, and just want to wish you a happy birthday. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Zaberski.
I think the only thing that I have is that we have the state basketball game this Friday. The girls varsity starts at 3 o'clock, boys varsity is at 4:40, and then depending on how, both do, we should have games on the 21st as well, starting at 12. So we are jazzed. That's big to have a state tournament in Fernley at one of our gyms. That's pretty awesome. So the whole community is invited out, whether you have kids in it or not. Come and support. Should be good.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's really awesome that we're having the tournament in Fernley and both our boys and girls are in the tournament. So that's pretty awesome. Councilman Torres,
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Councilman Mendoza.
Just one quick update. Myself and the finance department met with the county to discuss the $4 million that was mentioned last meeting. There's still questions and there's conversations being had. So just want people to know that we're talking about it. Thank you.
And Councilman Mendoza, did you look up? Okay, so what I have to report is I wanted to remind everybody that the State of the City will be February 26th, next Thursday from 6 to 8 at the CRRC, housed by the Boys and Girls Club. So if you would please, and you want to come to that, if you would make a reservation with April Hommy so she can put you down, because we're limited to about 100 people. So if you plan on going, please call April Hommy and she can set a reservation for you. Thank you. That's all I have. Line item 4 is proclamations by the mayor. There are none at this time. And we have a presentation, Mr. Williams.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Acting City Manager Lydia Altuck. My name is Barry Williams. I'm the Public Works Director. Tonight we have a real exciting opportunity to hear from a group called Poseidon Education. Just a little background on this. This system is back in April 2025. Councilman Torres and I were invited to hear a presentation by our high school students at Fernley High School. That presentation was geared toward wastewater treatment and stormwater treatment. They gave us a delightful presentation on what the processes were and what the impacts were of groundwater treatment. That education system was provided by Poseidon Educations. So we're going to hear from them tonight, giving us a little detail about what their program actually offers. And I think we have a really good opportunity to kind of enter our young people into the workforce of construction, public works, and wastewater treatment with this opportunity. They provide great curriculum, and I'm excited to hear about it. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Zachary. She's on Zoom, and she'll take us through a presentation.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Williams, sorry, I'm a little nervous here. And thank you, Mayor and council members and staff for having me here this evening. I'm sorry I'm not there personally. I happen to be enjoying a little bit nicer weather down in San Diego right now, avoiding the big storm up in Tahoe. So, but to get you started on who we are and why we're here this evening, I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a moment. Okay. I'm going to go to the slideshow here. Okay. So, again, thank you for having me. We are Poseidon Education. We are, we've been doing this work specifically on this one since 2013. And we've been working with the state in Nevada for the last 7 years. working with Nevada Department of Transportation. And that's how we were able to be at Fernley High School for the presentation, the program that Mr. Williams had mentioned. So we believe in empowering students, and we believe it's essential to developing a society that's capable of careful stewardship of our water resources. And considering how that Fernley is in a desert, water is extremely important. So we have been in business, like I said, for 10 plus years, and we've had programs. We're in 3 states with our programs currently. We're still looking to grow, and we have been in multiple counties within Nevada, mainly in the Reno, Carson, Tahoe region, but also Vegas, all the way out as far as Elko and Fernley, as I said. So our curriculum is designed to be engaging and career technical education, and we're inspiring students to be careful stewards of the water, but also inspiring them to look at the water industry as a potential career opportunity. Because, you know, basically when I went to college, I'm a marine biologist, but when I went to college, there was really no talk about the water industry, you know, for an environmental scientist. And so we're changing that. And so we have been out there pushing these programs and getting them into schools, and with great results. It's very effective. Our programs have an internship component, especially the larger ones, which allows students to add this program to their resumes, to their college applications. We also guide them into the workforce without having to go into a 4-year career or 4-year college experience. So we expose them to the water industry from both sides, straight out of high school and into college. So we have presented a couple of programs to the city, and as an offering for what we can showcase. We already have met with the teachers and we have them ready to go. So the idea would be to implement this school year. And the first one would be the Water Resource Leadership Program, which is in its entirety an internship for 5th graders. And I know 5th graders don't technically think about internships right off the bat, but you'd be surprised how innovative and how brilliant 5th graders can be and how driven they can be to make change in this world. So I met with a teacher at Fernley Intermediate School who is willing to do this program and incorporate it into her classroom. All of our programs are NGSS aligned, and so they slide right into a curriculum and into a classroom really easily. So what is water resource leadership? It is it's an exploration of our water resources. So these particular students would be looking at the city of Fernley water operations, looking at potable water, wastewater, look at stormwater, reclaimed, all the different sources, and understand that we have a finite resource of water at our for us to use, and it's even harder to clean it. So it's better to take care of it from the beginning and do our best to conserve. So this program also, like I said, has a career path component and exposes these students to a lot of different people within the industry along the way. So as I said, we have them study wastewater, we have them study stormwater, reclaimed, and irrigation. They look at the problems on their school site. They actually use their school as the study site itself. And they dive into it and really dig into what is at their fingertips and how they affect it. So how does Fernley get its water? From what I've already done my research on at this point, is that your groundwater wells are very important to you, but you don't have a huge plethora of water just at your at your fingertips. So we definitely want to consider that being in a desert, you don't have a lot of precipitation and that water is very precious. So the activities that the students will actually learn, they're going to test their faucets in the classrooms. They're going to see what their flow rates are. They'll calculate it all. They're going to do math. We're going to get them the water bill for the school and see what kind of water usage the school does in its entirety. They're going to do some data collection, looking at hand washing, because it is actually one of the biggest wastes in schools. If you don't, not that we're discouraging hand washing, it's just there's ways to do it without leaving the tap just running. And also, you know, looking at their irrigation. They'll also do a water taste test and taste bottled water, tap water, filtered water, and see if there's any flavor difference between them. And so they will understand that they don't have to buy plastic water bottles to get their source of water, that they can actually get it from filter or tap. So the students will also be learning about the history of water as well within the region, but also back to talking about the data themselves, or that they are going to experience, is that they're going to look at the total water usage that the school does each month, and then they're going to look at that hand washing component and look at the potential savings. They're going to look at their irrigation and see if what kind of savings reclaimed water gives them. And then through that data, they will look at ways that they can do conservation. This particular, oh, and I just jumped my own slide. Yes, so they will be looking at conservation use and ways to be more mindful. They will ultimately, at the end of the whole program, is that they are going to be developing a water resource management plan for their school. And look at, are there any irrigation leaks that we need that we can fix? Are there any ways that we can be better stewards? And they will be giving a full presentation, because we do public speaking with the students. And they'll give you a presentation of what they've learned and present their water resource management plan at the end. The second program that we have proposed running at Fernley High School, also I've met with a teacher there who's very excited to get this started. This particular program is a new creation of ours, but it's very exciting because it really gets into the nuts and bolts of career paths in the water industry. So these students are actually going to be looking at the expansion of the East wastewater treatment plant. They're going to look at the global overview of water in Nevada, the services and infrastructure at the city and in the community, and really just dive into what it means to have this water component. But once they learn that, they are going to do a deeper dive into this particular wastewater treatment plant, and they're going to meet with a city council member. If we can encourage you to come over to the school and talk with these students. The project manager for the treatment plant itself, a construction manager, an equipment operator. We'd love we're going to set up a panel of people that they can actually talk with and have ask questions of. And they're going to learn about what it means to actually start a water project and develop it from beginning to end. What does it take to get a project started through government entities, and dealing with contractors and construction professionals and engineers and project managers and all the pieces that have to come into play to get a project up and running and actually producing. So this infrastructure as I said, they'll be diving deep into on part one. Part two is meeting with all of the professionals that we can bring into the classroom for them. Part three, they're actually going to be looking at the blueprints, the documents, the plans. They're going to have an experience of what it means to actually build something of this magnitude. And then they're going to go on a field trip and they get to see it firsthand and ask the questions that they're curious about and figure out how cool it is to be in the water industry. And then their final little bit of that is they're actually going to present to those fifth graders that are doing the Water Resource Leadership Program and tell them what they learned about the wastewater treatment plant. So we have peer-to-peer teaching and exposure. That was really it. I was trying to keep it as quick as I possibly could for your benefit. I know I've said a lot. Does anyone have any questions?
Any discussion from council?
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. In front of you, you do have proposals. You could take a look at and scan through if you would like to direct staff to enter into an agreement tonight, you could, or if you would like us to come back with more information, you could direct us to do that as well.
So I guess my question is, when do you plan on starting this program?
I have the teachers ready to go. I think we have the curriculum. So what comes with these programs, I didn't say that part of it, is that the teachers get the equipment for the labs that are attached with the curriculum, a full curriculum set that they can teach in perpetuity. And then they get training and 24/7 support from our team. And so with that, we would begin training as soon as the ink dries really on the contract. We could get started as early as 1st of March. Like I said, it is one of those things to get in with a teacher and get into their school, their classroom like that this late in the year can be a little bit challenging. So the fact that we have these teachers that are willing to do this right now and are ready to go is not an opportunity that I recommend missing. It's a great opportunity for these students. It's a win-win-win for everybody. And the career exposure is with the hands-on components are priceless.
Okay, Councilman Mendoza?
Thank you for your presentation. I think it's super awesome. The only question I would have is the school district on board with allowing us to purchase this curriculum and let the teachers roll it out, or is this just a conversation between the teachers?
Barry Williams, Public Works Director, for the record. So we did have a conversation with the school district about this, and they're excited about the program as well. Since this is workforce development, kind of focused on water, wastewater opportunities for our students, they would kind of like us to lead that program, which as staff, we're happy to do it. I know my children, they grow up turning on the water faucet, not knowing where the water came from. So they just leave it running, right? So it will kind of enlighten our youth as far as learning where our water resources actually come from and how precious it actually is. And hopefully, we make some leaders out of our young people, and they can come back to Fernley when they graduate and work for the city.
Councilman Torres?
And we've been dealing with working with this project, like she said, since last April. Vetted the teachers who was highly recommended. FIS, their principal and everything is on board as well. Ms. McDowell, the fifth grade at FIS, is going to be the teacher teaching this at that school. And then would this, Mr. Carson, be able to come out of general fund, or can we use enterprise funds for this?
Sorry about that. Robert Carson, City Treasurer for the record. This would come out of the Water Enterprise Fund.
Thank you, sir.
I do believe this is a really good program to get our young kids rolling and really thinking about water, where it comes from. And you don't just turn on a faucet and out comes water. There's a process before it comes out that faucet. So,
Right.
um,
It also
Councilwoman-
gives them the opportunity to learn what it takes to get a project from concept all the way to completion. You know, a lot of our projects, you know, they take 3, 4, 5 years of planning and then 2, 3 years of construction. That's a huge undertaking. So they'll get all the information they need to learn how that works.
Councilwoman Zabriskie?
I just want to make sure both of these are completely separate. This is for the high school, this is the 9,500, that's for the high school, and this is
24,000 and some
Yeah,
change,
for,
yes.
and that's for the middle school.
That's correct.
Yes, that program is a much longer, more in-depth. That's the water resource component. It's 18 lessons. The one that's for the high school one is 5.
And then the only question I had was, especially with the middle school one, how many kids do you plan on reaching with the curriculum? Is it like all of 5th grade? Is it 2 classes out of 5th grade?
Well, I only have one teacher that's actually agreed to do it. So I believe it's just the 30 some odd students she has in her classroom that are going to do it, but she will be trained on the curriculum and can teach this particular program in perpetuity.
Okay, so we'll be able to use the curriculum forever. Awesome.
She will, yes.
Thank you.
So is this teacher going to do the high school as well as the 5th grade?
No, that's Casey Noonan from Fernley High School that will be doing the Waterworks program.
Oh, okay, because maybe I misunderstood what you said, but I thought you said only one teacher was going to do this. So, okay.
Oh, no. So the water resource one is for the 5th grade. And that one, they're looking at all the different types of water and, you know, down to the minutia of that. But no, at the Fernley High School, that is the more the career push, going in, looking at plans, documents, all that sort of stuff.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Mendoza?
Yeah, I like it. For it, I would like to see, since this is the first time we're doing it, to see if we could document it with photos and videography. So we could have a presentation for the city and play it probably at the next State of the City, and just to document if we get permission from the parents to
Absolutely.
do those things. So I think that would be pretty awesome. Just to keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Well, it does come with a final presentation, the water resource one with the 5th graders. Yeah, at the end, they will do a formal presentation and we can bring them directly to City Council if you'd like.
Councilman Torres?
I'm ready to make a motion if there's no other
Well,
questions.
hold on before your motion. Councilman Hannon has a comment.
I don't. I was going to make a motion, but I'll let him go.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Councilman Torres.
I make a motion to direct staff to accept both of these programs and include the funding from the enterprise fund.
I second that.
We have a motion by Councilman Torres, seconded by Councilman Hannon. Please vote. Or do we have to do manual voting again? Or are we good?
Yeah.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to line item 6, public hearing 6.1 for possible action, discussion possible action to approve Bill 376 associated with CA 25010 to amend section 32.03.030 and section 32.07.220 Table 32.09.120-2, and Table 32.06.150 of the Fernley Development Code to allow standalone gaming establishments of any size without the resort hotel component.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Lisa Warner, Assistant Planner for the record. And do you have my PowerPoint? Oh, okay. Switch up. I'm used to looking up that way. Okay, the background on code amendment 25010 for gaming. Current development code only allows non-restrictive gaming operations, which is gaming establishments with more than 16 slot machines that include a resort hotel component. Developers have expressed frustration with the resort hotel requirements, as well as the number of allowed slot machines. To make the code less restrictive, planning staff have removed the resort hotel requirement and have updated the definition. Staff have also removed the non-restrictive text from other sections and tables within the development code. Applicants will now be able to apply for a standalone gaming establishment of any size without a resort hotel component. All gaming establishments already active within the city of Fernley are grandfathered in and do not require the resort hotel component. Planning Commission voted 5-0 on January 14th, 2026 to recommend City Council approve this code amendment. And they had no further discussion on it. The new definition will be operation of any number of slot machines together with any gaming device, race book, sports pool, or other accessory uses such as food services and ATMs at one establishment. We removed the non-restrictive text from the definitions, from live-work dwellings, from the parking ratios, and unlisted uses and use table. So now those will all read just gaming establishment. It meets finding number 1 because the master plan does not specifically address development standards. Therefore, this proposed code amendment does not violate any specific master plan requirement. It also meets finding number 2. The public notices were completed in the Reno Gazette Journal for the public hearing at City Council. Those were done on February 4th of 2026. And there is my recommended motion if there are no questions.
If council has any questions, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Hannan.
do we need public comment before we make a motion?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. This is a public hearing, so we have public input at this time. Anybody on Zoom? No? Okay, it's back to council. Do you have any other discussion? All right, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I move to approve Bill 367 associated with CA 25010 as presented by staff.
Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Well, a motion by Councilman Hannan, seconded by Councilwoman Zaborski. Please vote. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to our second public hearing, 6.2, discussion possible action to approve and adopt Bill 378 associated with CA 25013, a request from the Planning Department to add definition to the development standards and to amend the public facility requirements pertaining to non-residential development in remote portions of the city, FMC 32.02.030 and FMC 32.09.125 and FMC 32.12.010.
Good evening, Mayor McIntyre, City Council, Elisa Johansson, Senior Planner for the record. I'm here tonight with a development code text amendment pertaining to non-residential developments in remote portions of the city. So why do we need to make these changes? Well, our current regulations require all intensifying development to connect to city utility infrastructure. Intensifying development being a land use that results in additional development impacts or parking requirements. We would also consider an intensifying development to be a land division application, so subdivisions. What this does is this renders non-residential sites on the periphery of Fernley essentially unbuildable unless the developer has significant resources at their disposal and can afford to fund the costly main extensions and connections that would be required to connect to city utility infrastructure when it's significantly far away. Why is that a problem? Well, the periphery of Fernley is an ideal siting location for uses that do not entail high visitation or staffing levels, for uses that require limited utilities, or for uses that have large spatial requirements. So to rectify this conflict between community needs and codified requirements, we propose to amend the code in a couple of different places to allow private utility facilities or no facilities at all where appropriate for developments on sites that meet the locational criteria that we propose to adopt as part of this amendment. Our methodology, as always, included research. We looked at locally relevant, regionally relevant jurisdictions to see what they were doing. We looked at counties, partly because counties have more rural, remote areas that might be suitable for these types of developments. We did also look at other cities, although many other cities are much more compact and don't have the same mix of remote locations and urbanized locations that we do. Once we came to a draft that we were happy with, we consulted with applicable city departments, including Public Works and Engineering. And then we also, of course, ran this by our legal counsel before bringing it to you tonight. All right, so as I mentioned, we are touching the code in a couple different places. We are proposing to add 2 new definitions to Chapter 3, which is our administration chapter where the definitions section is located. The first definition is unserviced. An unserviced site is a site that is not mapped within an adopted area plan and that is more than 1/4 mile from any public utility infrastructure. We added a second definition for xeriscaping, the process of landscaping that significantly reduces or eliminates the need for irrigation. Moving on, we propose to add a new section to Chapter 9. This would be our non-residential standards for unserviced sites. This is a very limited suite of development standards that are less restrictive, specifically targeted at these non-residential unserviced sites pertaining to landscaping, screening, and street improvements. So kind of scaling back those requirements as they would normally be applied to provide a little bit more flexibility while still addressing development impacts. And perhaps most importantly, the section pertaining to adequate public facilities was also updated. This is the key sort of crux of this update. This allows private utility facilities, such as a well or a septic system, when deemed appropriate by city administrators, to be allowed on these sites. This new allowance adds previously absent flexibility and discretion. So I want to emphasize that this is still a discretionary administrative decision by staff. This new allowance does not encourage or authorize uses or densities that are not appropriate without public infrastructure connections. So big new subdivisions out on the periphery of Fernley will not be able to utilize this new provision. New, large, high impact, high visitation, high employment non-residential uses in the periphery of Fernley would likewise not be able to take advantage of this provision. The new allowance also does not change the range of allowable uses that are allowed in any zoning district, and it also does not modify or supersede any regulatory requirements for private facilities. So wells still have to meet the same wellhead protection standards. They still have to be approved by NDWR, and we still need septic systems approved in a similar fashion. Okay, moving on to the analysis. We need to meet 2 findings tonight. The first, that the Development Code text amendment be consistent with the city's master plan and otherwise consistent with state and federal law. These proposed changes are consistent with the master plan's overarching goal of ensuring land use compatibility. So we're still including some limited development standards that help make these uses compatible with their neighbors. We, along those same lines, prevent and mitigate adverse impacts resulting from development. Again, looking at visual impacts and other types of impacts such as roadway impacts, traffic impacts. These would all be analyzed as part of our evaluation for development proposals under this provision. The proposed changes also adopt development regulations that acknowledge the timing between land use and the provision of services and facilities. This is one of our action strategies that we as a city should be acknowledging this timing conflict. Sometimes the land use is ready to go. Businesses are ready to, come into Fernley. They're ready to develop land, but the provision of services and infrastructure facilities does not match that development pressure. And then finally, maintaining developable land for residential and commercial uses. As I mentioned, some of those sites on the periphery of Fernley are currently, more or less unbuildable. This adds those sites back to our developable stock. And the second finding is that we need to provide public notice and hold a public hearing. We provided public notice in the Reno Gazette-Journal in late December, held a public hearing at the January Planning Commission meeting where we received a unanimous recommendation for approval, and we provided additional public notice for tonight's public hearing in earlier this month in February. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Staff does recommend approval and adoption of this bill tonight. If you choose to deny or modify, as always, please state your finding in the associated rationale or the requested modification and supporting rationale.
Councilwoman Zaversky. Okay. Councilman Mendoza.
Yes, thank you. Is there a scenario where this was requested from somebody in the public, or is this something that the team here in Fernley decided that we should come up with?
That's a good question. I would describe it as a mix of both. So we frequently hear from our customers that this provision requiring intensifying development to connect to city infrastructure is a project killer. We've heard that numerous times. And so in one of those recent conversations, we as a team within the planning department, mostly initiated by Michelle in her wisdom, chose to finally, kind of get our arms around the issue and to work towards a code update that would help some of these customers that we've been hearing from so frequently.
Thank you. And can you describe a scenario, like a recent scenario that this would apply to? Because my concern is how we allow them to do business, but is there any like code enforcement, so to speak, in regards to having like a certain amount of porta potties that need to be serviced or anything like that?
So in situations where that type of facility is required on the site, that would not be an adequate permanent facility for a development. That actually relates back to the building code. So Charity can correct me if I'm wrong, but generally speaking, when we're proposing these developments or when we're reviewing these developments, we're looking at them as permanent installations, permanent improvements. So when a new business proposes to develop on the periphery of Fernley, if they determine that they need X number of bathrooms, that would be required to be, a permanent facility unless the building code authorizes, temporary facilities. We would typically require permanent facilities, and that would require a septic system. If they were able to obtain septic system approval, and if we as a city determined that that particular use was appropriate to utilize this provision.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
We have any other questions by council? If not, I'll open it up for public comment. Seeing no public comments, anybody on Zoom?
Hello, this is Dimitri Nikolakakis. I own Valuetainer LLC. I'm probably one of the people that she was talking about with regards to these requirements. As the bill is written, best I can tell, it has a good intent. However, it perverts that intent, and the sites would remain unbuildable as it creates new, more restrictive, and exquisitely expensive requirements where none previously existed. There's some zoning, such as industrial, that the language in the current code would state that you may have screening or fencing. It doesn't have a requirement for it. And then the requirement for roads, as proposed in this bill, would require asphalt paving, which I recently got quotes for, and you're about $8 a square foot. So a 25-foot wide standard road, you're about $200 per linear foot. So let's use an example of a parcel with a 500 by 500 or 500 foot by 500 foot perimeter. You'd be $200,000 just in paving on that project. So though the goal of removing the requirement to connect to city infrastructure is laudable, this, as it's written, would cause the sites to remain unbuildable, given the perversion of the intent. So my encouragement for the city council would be to either reject the bill in its entirety or reject section C and D, adopting the rest.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Is there any other public input? We're back to council. Councilman Mendoza?
Yeah, do we have a response to those concerns from our planning or building department?
Sure. Michelle Rambo, Planning Director for the record. The bill, the way that we wrote it was very minimal. We just added an exemption basically, which eliminates the need for, let me give you an example. We have, as the gentleman said, we have his project has come in wanting to do basically a contractor storage yard out off of Speedway Road, which is way out in the middle of nowhere. As it's written right now, he's required to do improvements to the street, which includes curb, gutter, and sidewalk. It requires fencing, landscaping, parking, a whole bunch of other things, including the connection to water and sewer. So realistically, there's not any chance in the near future that water and sewer is going to be extended that far out. Plus the fact that with the nature of the community or the neighborhood, it doesn't make sense to have him do curb, gutter, sidewalk on basically dirt roads. So the way we wrote this was to just allow them to basically bypass that waiver process. So they would need a waiver for the parking. They would need a waiver for the street improvements. They would need a waiver for the curb and gut, the water and sewer connections. They need all sorts of different waivers. And so this would just eliminate the need for that and allow the city to approve those without having to go through all those extra steps.
I have a comment on that as well. Was not, if I recall, the fire department involved in this, saying that they had to have a road wide enough for them to get an emergency vehicle down there, as well as a turnaround for
Yeah, that would be
public safety. Yeah.
There was that conversation with the fire marshal. It was ultimately determined that they could work around that because the items being stored on the parcel are not flammable.
And then I think it should also be noted that the waiver current pricing according to the city of Fernley's website this evening, is $1,840 is the minimum cost for a waiver. So although a waiver is a possibility to eliminate the need for the water and sewer connection, you'd create a new requirement for a waiver should someone not want to build a road to nowhere. Because the intent for this bill, I would assume, would be the outlying parcels that are not served by roads currently. So we're going to be having people paving in the middle of the desert, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And my concern would be that I would be subject to these new requirements and have to submit to an additional waiver process. Our waiver application was accepted on November 25th. And to the best of my knowledge, it has not been presented to City Council yet with regards to the water and sewer waiver, although the planning portion was completed in January.
Michelle Rambo, Planning Director again, for the record. Excuse me. The waiver process that, yes, the current fee is what it is. But the applicant was given the opportunity to not, we gave him two choices. He could either file the waiver and pay the fee, or he could wait for this code amendment to go through, in which case he wouldn't need a waiver. So he chose to file the waiver and pay the fee. The planning portion, as he said, has been completed. The water and sewer connection portion is kind of stuck in engineering with the staff turnover that's happening over there. We're trying to get that through. I've kind of been a little pest lately, trying to get it done. But if this is approved tonight, he doesn't need that water and sewer waiver either. So in the end, it's saving him time and money.
My concern, Michelle, would be, would I have to?
Aaron Morrison, city attorney, just very briefly, we are getting into this back and forth, and this is public comment. And so, Mr. Mayor, if you do want to open it up for this repeat public comment, you can, but my recommendation would be to limit public comment. And if you feel like there are additional issues to be discussed, to continue the item.
Okay, yeah, so we had public input already, and I did let you go on a little bit longer than I probably should have, because now we're back to discussion with council, but seems how council asked the question. I allowed you to chime in on your thoughts as well as
I appreciate that.
So, Councilman Mendoza.
So I got a question for you, the planning director, Ms. Rambo. If we approve this today, the concerns that the gentleman had during public comment, will he be required to have asphalt and fencing?
No.
No. So we have that no on public record, and I'm okay to move forward with the thing. And if we have any issues, we can bring it back to council.
Councilman Hannan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If there's no further comment, I'm prepared to make a motion.
If there's no further comment from council?
Anyone for that matter.
Okay, go ahead.
Seeing none, considering the information provided by staff presentations and in the staff report, I move to approve and adopt Bill 378 associated with CA 25013, adding definitions and development standards and amending public facility requirements pertaining to non-residential developments in the remote portions of the city, FMC 32.02.030, FMC 32.09.125, and FMC 32.12.010.
Looking for a second? Councilman Mendoza.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Councilman Hannan, seconded by Councilman Mendoza. Please vote. Motion carries 4-0, and we'll take a 10-minute break.
fluctuates at the moment because we're above the growth rate formula at this current time. So in fiscal year 2026, it was at 0.0172, and that was based on, again, the C tax and getting us up to that maximum allowed rate. For fiscal year 27, it's proposed to be 0.0161. So that total combined tax rate, that's what's assessed on property taxes. For fiscal year 26, it's 0.6761. And for fiscal year 27, it's proposed to be 0.6750. Now, while it may look like the tax rate is going down, the total allowed ad valorem revenue that we have is going up by that growth rate. And most of that has to do with the assessed value of the properties and the growth that the city's been experiencing. So the other benefit to this is this going down, it keeps us below the max tax rate that we have, which is $3.66. So we still have room for growth in the future that's not solely based on actual property growth. The tax rate can still grow. We're not capped out on that. So your approval tonight would give us authorization to send to the Department of Tax that we want to levy the 0.6750 amount in fiscal year 27. And that's all I had, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilman Torres.
I don't have any questions, Mr. Mayor. I was going to make a motion if there's no questions.
Is council good with that? Okay, go ahead, Councilman Torres.
Sorry. I move to approve the city of Fernley's maximum allowed operating property tax rate to be levied for fiscal year 2027 and for submission to the state of Nevada Department of Taxation.
Second. We have a motion by Councilman Torres, seconded by Councilman Hannan. Please vote. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Move on to line item 8.1. This is introductory to our first reading of Bill 380 associated with ZMA 25001, a zoning map amendment request from Wood Rogers Incorporated on behalf of Jenica Clover Ranch LLC, rezoning 6 parcels containing approximately 24.72 acres and generally located between Farm District Road to the south, Langdon Street to the north, Winnie Lane to the west, and Nevada Pacific Boulevard to the east, from RR half rural residential half-acre minimum and RR5 rural residential 5-acre minimum to SF6 single family 6,000 square foot minimum. APNs are 021-331-15, 119, 120, 22, 29, and 38.
Thank you, Mayor McIntyre. Good evening, City Council. My second item tonight is just an introduction and first reading of the zoning map amendment component of a concurrent request that will come back to you for a public hearing in early March. If you have any questions about this particular component, please let me know. We are conducting an additional first reading because more than 30 days has passed since this item was initially heard.
We have any comment from council? It is a first reading. Councilwoman Zaberski.
I know that it's only the first reading and we try and we'll talk about that next time, but I feel like the questions that I have on this project are probably big enough that I would like to see some of them before the second reading.
Okay.
I know that especially in the applicant comment, they lean really hard on the north side having the 6,000 square foot lots, but it's like the smallest border on the whole property. I mean, the north side is like the smallest border. But one of the comments that was in there was the transition and buffer adjacency standards create dead zones. FDC allows deviation from the standards with approval of an administrator. I would like to avoid that.
So that information in the applicant's narrative was corrected through a correction letter, but we did not require them to update that narrative.
Okay.
So we identified in our first round of review that administrator discretion was not available to them as they had thought. So we clarified the code, we clarified what was actually required, and they amended their proposal slightly to clarify their response to the adjacency standards.
Okay, I just want to make sure that one paragraph was a little, well.
Yeah, they are complying with the adjacency standards as currently codified.
And I know that we run into this a lot as far as our master plan goes. We'll say, well, it's zoned SF6, so it's compatible. But taking away the fact that it's actually completely surrounded by RR1, RR5, SF20, I think was the preschool. I mean, it's pretty surrounded by rural residential. So I feel like that finding on there that's a hard finding for me to make because of what the current zoning is and not the zoning that's in the master plan.
I understand that. I would recommend that excuse me, I don't mean to be condescending. My analysis in the staff report looks at that from two lenses, and I feel that that is the best way to analyze that finding. So we look at it from not only the comprehensive master plan land use category and whether that category or designation is compatible with the requested zoning district, but we also look at established uses in the vicinity. So in this case, the uses in the vicinity are residential and the proposed zoning district is also residential. So there's some built-in compatibility there. There's also some built-in compatibility in terms of the master plan land use designation. What this finding doesn't really address, and it doesn't really ask staff to address, is compatibility in terms of lot sizes. That's where the adjacency development standards, if you're thinking of the code in terms of like how it's built and how it's written, the code intended for the adjacency development standards to meet that need rather than to have a zoning map amendment finding meet that need. Does that make sense? It's kind of like going at the nail with either a sledgehammer or a regular hammer. We could do it with this, really big, burdensome finding analysis, or we could do it with development standards compliance.
Right.
And in this particular case, the development standard doesn't quite adequately provide for the type of adjacency and transition that we know the community would prefer. And so that's why we're also working on some updates to the adjacency standards.
Okay.
But those won't apply to this particular project.
Yeah, I would love updates to those for sure. And just, you're never going to hurt my ego talking to me regular. You absolutely know more about planning and zoning than I do than me. So
it just feels a little weird to tell the council what I would
okay.
recommend they do.
I'm very regular about this, so never worry about how you're talking. The only other issue that I had was in the traffic analysis, the assumption that people were going to use 50 opposed to using farm district to get to the development. I think probably unless you live here is a really hard assumption because people are going to avoid that roundabout as much as they possibly can, which means I know it's only 100 houses, but people are going to be using farm district to get to that. And so I don't know how you figure that in a traffic analysis. Or if it's just kind of like, well, it'll be faster if they take 50, but then they're not here. And so they haven't lived through the roundabout and don't know that the traffic will probably take farm district to Clover.
Understood. So this particular question I will decline to answer because the traffic analysis relates to the tentative subdivision map, not to the zoning map amendment. And what I'm here tonight is the first reading for the zoning map amendment. So we need to differentiate those.
I was just
elements.
going over because it was in the applicant comment the last time that they did the traffic analysis. So I just wanted to make sure that I planted that seed out in the air that.
So what I would recommend, sorry, please bring that up at the public hearing on the 4th. You're welcome to ask the applicant. They will be there. They will have a presentation and we will also have a staff presentation and that we can have a more meaningful discussion about the traffic impacts and the mitigation measures that we're conditioning at that time.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Nope, we're good. Thank you. Move on to line item 9, public forum. This portion of the meeting devoted to public. If you wish to comment, you can do so in person at the meeting or raise your hand featured in Zoom. *9 if you're participating via phone. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Is there any public input at this time? Is there anybody on Zoom? Our next meeting will be March 4th at 5 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.